Let's give a standing ovation to Sanjiv Mehta. We are privileged today to have Sanjiv among us as a final edition of our Distinguished and Eminent Speaker Series. I would like to invite MVN on stage here to introduce Sanjiv before we start the actual presentation by Sanjiv. MVN, thank you. Let's give it up for MVN as well, guys.
Good evening. Good evening and good afternoon and good morning who have joined on the call. It is my absolute honor and privilege to introduce someone who needs no introduction. In the corporate world, Mr. Sanjiv Mehta, a leader, visionary, and then a game changer who literally changed the FMCG sector overall. Everything from what we use from toothpaste to your tea or even washing your hands. I think all the places in the where from the we can see that his impact. Under his when he was in CEO, he has doubled the turnover of the HUL, which is close to the 50,000 crores, and the market cap from 1 lakh crores to 6 lakh crores. It has so much, has increased. It is almost, six-fold times. And then it's not only profitability, also there's a positive impact on many of us in the country. That's how I think there's a huge impact he has created for HUL. Under Mehta's leadership, HUL stock price saw a significant increase in the history of Indian markets, making investors so happy. On the lighter note, even some of the investors also would have named their kids as like a Sanjiv. So that's how I think he has created overall journey of HUL. So he is not only as a CEO, a strategist who turned challenges into stepping stones and a leader who provided that purpose and profit can walk side by side. I think that's how I think he has created. Without any further adding, let's welcome the man behind the magic, Mr. Sanjiv Mehta.
Hi, good evening, everyone. You know, it's nearly end of the year. So MVN told me that you need to come and entertain our people. And that's my purpose today. Yeah, for a couple of hours, I intend to entertain you. But before that, we are getting into the holiday season and Christmas season, New Year's. And this is a time for introspection. This is a time to chill. This is a time to look ahead, spend time with your families and loved ones. So I wish all of you Merry Christmas and a fabulous New Year. I also want to congratulate you all. Congratulate you all for what is turning out to be a very good year for the business. So give yourself a big round of applause. And thank you, MVN. Thank you, Prasad, Ramanna, my colleagues on the management committee. Thank you so much for inviting me. So what I'm going to do today is share some stories with you. Stories about our journey in HUL for the 10 years that I was at the helm. And interspersed with the stories and the entertainment, I will also share with you some of the lessons that we have imbibed. And after my presentation, we will then open it up for any questions that you may have. And the ground rule is, no question is a bad question. So whatever comes to your lips, don't hesitate to raise those questions. All right? Let's start. Sorry, where do I need to point out? Where's... Don't worry, it happens. It's a good omen. Okay. Now, all of us are conversant with the several challenges that our world faces. Climate change, we just had COP29. And, with Mr. Trump coming in, we don't know whether the solutions would become closer or they would become much further ahead. But climate change is a reality, and there is no getting away from it. And if we do not work towards bringing about changes to the way we run the economies, run our lifestyle, we will be sacrificing the future of our next generation. Inequality, huge amount of wealth has been created in the world. We have seen it not just in India, but across the world. But it has also exacerbated the differences. And if you were to look at Gini coefficient, which measures the disparity, it has gone the other way. It has not bridged the differences. So a handful of people across the world have created more wealth as opposed to being evenly spread out. Guys, whoever comes late will have to perform a dance. So I'm keeping note of who are the guys who are coming in late. So just start practicing your steps. All right? Health crisis. On one hand, we still have severe malnutrition, deficiency in micronutrients, vitamins, proteins. On the other hand, obesity has become such a big issue, not just in our country, but in many parts of the world. And trust deficit. Yeah, today people do not trust their leaders. There's a chasm. And people today are craving for good leadership, good leadership in the world. The US Army had coined the word VUCA. Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And this happened after the end of the Cold War. Because they did not have a classical enemy in Russia then. During the Cold War, they knew who the enemy was. There were the NATO countries and there were the Warsaw Pact countries. Then it went away. That's when they coined the word VUCA. But an American anthropologist is now talking about a bunny world. A world which is brittle, which is anxious, which is non-linear and incomprehensible. And if you look at series of events that have happened across the world, it brings to light the fact that Bani does exist. That doesn't mean VUCA has gone away. It's VUCA and Bani playing together. Say if you go back about 30 years, that was an era of great moderation. When things were calm, globalization was happening, there was relative peace, the economies were growing at a good sedate pace, but that has changed completely. And to the youngsters in the room, your generation will face much more turbulence than my generation did. And you have to be ready for it. Those of you who were born before 1991 and were at a stage where they could understand the economy, this year is etched in our psyche. This was a defining year. We had nearly run out of our forex reserves. And the Reserve Bank of India had to cart gold from the walls of Nagpur to take it to Switzerland and Bank of England to get a meager loan of $2.2 billion. Our credit standing in the world was so low that we could not get a loan without collateral. And that is when the opening up of the Indian economy started. In many ways, it was forced upon us. But I believe we were lucky that we had great leaders at that time who took fundamentally right steps in opening up of the economy. Now, during the year, at the beginning of this millennium, from 2000 to 2013, HUL went through a bit of tough time. If you look at it, the blue line is HUL. It underperformed both the FMCG index and the BSE index. So I came into the role of the CEO of HUL in 2013. And this is what I'd inherited. That time, our global CEO was my boss, a gentleman called Paul Polman. He had given me 3 briefs. He said, 1, you have to ensure that we improve our competitiveness because we were losing market shares. The second, he said, because of the nature of the market, you would be growing faster than the global Unilever. Your margins have to be accretive to global Unilever. You cannot be dilutive. We were dilutive to global Unilever because just think of it. You're growing faster than the global Unilever and your margins are dilutive. It would have a dual effect. And the third, he said, you have to build capabilities for the new world. Those were the 3 expectations that Paul had left with me. And I was returning to India after 21 years. I had not left touch with India. I used to read everything about India. I knew what was happening. And at least once a year, we would come back to India to have our daughters meet their grandparents and for us to again rekindle our relationship with our friends and relatives over here. So I was in touch with India, but I was coming back after a pretty long period. Now let's look at where we as a country stand and where is HUL now. Now we are talking about an economy which is bordering $4 trillion. Just to give you an idea that the size of the Indian economy in 1947, when the country gained independence, at today's prices, was less than the market cap of Hindustan Unilever. We were a very small country. We were bereft of all resources. There was nothing left with us. The Brits had taken away everything. The first 2 industrial revolutions, the steam engine and the internal combustion engine, had bypassed us. We were a very poor country with no capabilities, no institutions, nothing much to talk about. And here we are, the 5th largest economy, with a very clear route to becoming the 3rd largest economy. It's a question about 1 or 2 years difference, but certainly before the end of this decade, we would become the 3rd largest economy. If you were to look at from a purchasing power parity basis, we're already a 3rd largest economy. But here I'm talking about nominal GDP. We will reach there. And having a tag that India is the fastest growing economy, when we were growing up, it was unthinkable. There was an economist called Mahalanobis, and he used to say that our large population is an albatross around a neck. And here we are, where 1.4 or 1.5 billion people, we look at them as a market. What a transformation this has happened. And this is the story of HUL in the last decade. Yeah, we were significantly ahead of the FMCG index. We were significantly ahead of the BSE index. And we moved our market cap from what was $12 billion to $76 billion. Yeah, we added $64 billion, which in its own right, just the delta would have made HUL the 10th largest company in the country. But at 76, we were the 5th largest from a market cap perspective. And we had become bigger than many of the global companies, the names that you must have all heard about, as HUL, not as Unilever. And during this period, we created more delta market cap than the parent company. HUL constitutes about 11-12% of the global turnover, but we generated more market cap than the parent company. And we were dilutive to Unilever. At the end of this period, we were 500 bips accretive to Unilever. Yeah? So that's the kind of change that happened. So the story I'm going to share with you, what were the building blocks of this transformation? Just like the McKinsey guys love their 2x2, I love my troikas. So you will see me often talking about the 3 axes. Now, whether it's a country or it's a company, the high performance comes from 3 axes. The mindset you bring in, the capabilities you develop, and then what I call as the high performance anatomy. I'll talk about what high performance anatomy entails. Let's first look at it from a country lens. You know, what's the biggest change that has happened with Viksit Bharat? I would say don't worry about the numbers. You will have all kinds of numbers being talked about. 35 trillion, 40 trillion, 28 trillion. Don't worry about that. The biggest shift, ladies and gentlemen, that has happened is the shift in our mindset. Our belief that India can become a developed nation. I think full kudos to Mr. Modi for bringing this self-belief, for bringing this confidence that India could become a developed nation. Does it really matter whether it is 2047 or 45 or 49? It does not. A lot of the actions which are emanating today stem from this belief that we can become a developed nation. The reforms, the ease of doing business. You know, one of the nations, you have science-based targets that each country does after COP. And after the Paris Agreement, one of the few countries that delivered on its commitment was India. And in the last 20 years, 1% of India's population has come out of poverty trap on an average. Just think about it. 20% of India's population, or 300 million Indians, have come out of multidimensional poverty in the last 20 years. If the UN delivers on its sustainable development goals, it will be because India delivered on its SDGs. This is a massive transformation. Just look at during the COVID period. No Indian went hungry. Even today, 800 million Indians get free food grains of 5 kgs. During the COVID period, it was 5 plus 5. This is one of the biggest welfare schemes in the world. You may well argue this is also an indication of the challenges that face the country? I would say absolutely. But what's the use of progress if we have population who go to bed hungry? So the first thing we have taken care of, no Indian goes to bed hungry now. That's the big shift that has happened. Look at capabilities. I'll share with you a big one. Digital public infrastructure has been a game changer. All these years, we used to get capabilities from the west to east. Today, DPI, we are teaching rest of the world. It's not just the DPI. The space at which the financial inclusion has happened. We have done for financial inclusion, which would normally take 50 years in less than 10 years. And then look at the physical infrastructure. It reminds me of the New Deal that happened after the Great Depression in the US, when the big highways got constructed from the east to the west, and the railroads came in. That's the kind of pace of infrastructure development that's happening in the country. Demographics is playing to advantage. It's a necessary condition, but never a sufficient condition. It's important for growth. Then we are talking about political stability. Look at our neighboring countries. They are teetering. In our country, it's a stable government. We are talking about our institutions which are firm. Our democracy has stood the test of time. Once in a while, there is a wobble. It's a pretty strong democracy. So there are many factors today which are playing to our advantage. There was never a better time to be young and to be an Indian. The world is your oyster. Look at this investment. When we talk about electrified railroads, from 22,000 to 50,000 kilometers, national highways, from nearly 100,000 to 150,000, doubling the number of airports, the educational institutions, non-fossil based installed capacity. This is a game changer. If you go through the Gati portal, you will find that in the next 5 years, India would be investing over $1 trillion in physical infrastructure. And physical infrastructure has a multiplier effect. So we are talking about laying the foundations for sustained high performance of the economy. Now, if you look at the numbers of the GDP, they're so striking. The 50 years before independence, we grew at 0.5% CAGR. Post-independence, when we were building our institutions, we had no money, so there was no option but to have the public sector do the heavy lifting. We grew at 3.5%. This was also a time when a population was growing at about 1.5–2%. So the per capita, we were growing at about 1.5%. It was measly considering the low base. The last 30 years, we have grown at 6.5%. Last 3 years, we have grown at 8%. What a remarkable achievement this is. All of us should be mighty proud of what the country has achieved. Let's now come to a company's lens. Again, the troika. The most important bit again is your growth mindset. That is the most important thing. I always used to tell my team, before you win in the marketplace, you win the battle of the mind. The second important bit is owner's mindset. You may be working, but your thinking has to be similar to Prasad's, an entrepreneur's thinking. That's what you need to bring to the party. Then there are the capabilities which have to be distinctive and hard to replicate. If they are not hard to replicate, they won't give you the competitive edge. And then it boils down to, what are your purpose? What's your culture? Yeah? What's your structure? What are your value system? And how do you build, nurture talent? From a lens of HUL, what we said, if we have to operate in a country like India, and if we have to remain the category leaders, we have to straddle the price benefit pyramid. You can't be a category leader in India and just operate at a niche. So you have to cater to the bottom of pyramid, you have to cater to the middle class Indians, and you have to cater to people who can afford the higher order benefits. Capabilities. I'm going to talk today about two capabilities which redefined HUL. One is winning in many Indias, and the second is reimagining HUL using data and technology. As far as the performance anatomy is concerned, how did we regain the employer of choice tag across industries? The second important bit is women in management. I'm a big believer of diversity. We had 18% when I took over 10 years back, or now 11. And when I left, we had 46% women in management with a very clear path that by 2025, we would become gender balanced. And then we were, hey, girls in the room, you should be clapping. Guys, clapping is allowed. Whenever you like something, please feel free to clap. The other important bit is, how do you empower the teams? Yeah, how do you delegate to them? Because if you expect them to have a founder's mentality and an owner's mindset, you have to delegate authority to them. And very importantly, how do you make profits through purpose? Let's start with the mindset, the growth mindset. Growth mindset is the beliefs that we have in the company, that we can grow under any circumstances. And if you look at the fixed mindset and the growth mindset examples, many of them you will say, hey man, we also have gone through this. Yeah, and that is something which we need to remove the cobwebs in our mind. Not easy to do, but extremely important to do. The two biggest things that you may have are self-belief and confidence. It all starts in the mind. It's always mind over matter. You know, Chinese, they are not the flavor of the day. But the word crisis in the Chinese language is made up of two characters. One is danger, and the other is opportunities. You have to recognize the danger. But there is an opportunity lurking at every corner. How do you realize that opportunity? That's the important bit. Let's talk about the owner's mindset. It starts with the belief that this is my company. Every dollar that I spend, we need to get value. Value for our consumers or patients, or value for the company. And when you have an owner's mindset, even though the profits of the company would not be coming to you, the same joy you have as if you were the owner of the company. And that's what drives you to give your best. Of course, there would be incentives linked to effort and to performance, but this goes far beyond that. This is when we call that people go beyond the call of duty, the stretch, the continuous quest for improvement and excellence. And when you don't treat the fact that you're working for DRL as a simple 9-to-5 job. And if you have the growth mindset and the owner's mindset, you would be willing to take risk. We must remember that we are in business. And business entails taking risk. Risk requires courage. Risk also requires an ability that you may face failure. That is integral to risk taking. But you shouldn't be doing the same thing and failing doing the same thing. If you have to fail, fail in doing something different. Now, this is a classical pyramid. I've taken two categories. Yeah, one is hair, the other is tea. If you look at it, at the bottom of the pyramid is a brand called Clinic Plus. It's on the Family Health platform. Above that is Sunsilk, which is a mass beauty. Above that, there is Dove, which is for damage care. Above that, there is Tresemme, which is salon kind of hair at home. And above that, there is a specialist Indulekha. Yeah, which is a specialist Ayurvedic brand. Now, this covers all the need spaces. And with different pack sizes and formats, we cover all the price points, starting with 1 rupee sachet. The Westerners don't believe that we can sell anything in 1 rupee because in US and UK, you won't even get free air for 1/100th of a UK pound. And here, not only you can get squeaky clean hair, but we make money on it. Yeah, and you can make money on it only when you have one of the most competitive cost bases of any company anywhere in the world. But just think of it. How many millions of people at the bottom of the pyramid, they can afford to have a great shampoo just because we provide them at 1 rupee. What a lovely, it makes a difference to their lives. Just like DRL does. DRL reaches 700-800 million people, taking healthcare to them. We need to ask ourselves, how do we keep increasing that? Look at tea. We were number 2 to my friend Tata's. A few years back, we took over leadership. हाँ यार जोर से ताली बजाओ, leadership की बात की. Yeah, again look at it. At the bottom of pyramid, we have Taza, we have Ruby Dust. Then if you're looking at taste, you look at Red Label. If you're looking at aroma, then you go to Taj Mahal. And then when you're looking at real value added, then you go to Lipton teas. Again, we cover all price points and all need spaces. That's what you need to do if you want to become a category leader. India is a country where you will not be fighting just for market shares. You have to create the markets, what we call as market development. So it's not just about share taking, it is about market making. That's the mindset you need to bring in. We have to create the categories of the future. Out of the total growth that we did in my 10 years of about 33,000 crores, 10,000 crores came from categories or segments which didn't exist. Every year we used to reach 100 million Indians by bringing them experiential marketing at their home, making them try new products, educating them, and following through, still it becomes a habit. The other is India is growing. So premiumization in every category will be a secular trend. Our portfolio, which was premium end, was in low 20s 10 years back. Now it is in 30s. That's the difference. Now look at this classical thing. Yeah, at the bottom of pyramid, you have a bar, detergent bar. Yeah, then you go up is from a Surf Excel, then you go to a blown powder, then you go to a machine load, then you go to liquids, and then you go to capsules. For the same wash, your turnover per wash goes up by a factor of 7. You could also look at this from a brand lens. There is Wheel at the bottom of pyramid, then you have Rin, then you have Surf Excel, and then the different formats. That's how you straddle and cover all the need spaces and the price points. The other important bit was, this was the biggest merger we did. Now, this is a brand which could also fit in so well in DRL's portfolio. This is Horlicks. Yeah, I had an eye on it for 10 years. Twice I had gone to GSK. And the CEO over there said, we are not yet ready to sell. And when it came to the market, I was very clear, we will bag it. And the reasons are very clear, that the penetration level are still in 20s. And India is a country where we are seriously deficient when it comes to minerals, vitamins, and micronutrients. And Horlicks is a great brand. If you look at southern India and northern and eastern India, there would hardly be a person who has not consumed Horlicks. In places like Kolkata, जब लोग बीमार होते हैं, तो उनके अस्पताल में जब मिलने जाते हैं, फल लेके नहीं जाते हैं, Horlicks की बॉटल लेके जाते हैं. Yeah, that's what a brand is all about. And this was the biggest deal that we did. And you know, the wonderful part of this deal was, it was not a cash deal. It was a share swap. And our price earning was 30x higher than GSK's. So the accountants in you can work out that how well this deal would have been for us. Coming to innovations. Innovations is a lifeline of a consumer goods company, just like it is for a pharmaceutical company. There was a period of time when you had to improve the product. It would generally entail higher cost. It was only in the 70s and 80s that the Japanese, through the TPM, TQM, just in time, taught the world that you can improve the quality and reduce the cost together. The next big innovations will come out of meeting the consumer needs at a lower cost and with a sustainable product. That's what we need to do. One of the classic examples is we had an innovation on Rin Bar where it was better clean at lower cost and it would take half the water for rinsing. That's the mindset we need to bring. It has to be superior, meeting the consumer needs, and at lower cost. So the hallmark of a great innovation is consumer need or the unmet problem, distinctive technology which gives you competitive advantage, and very importantly, are you appropriating a large part of the value chain? If someone else does it, it's not a great innovation for us. You know, you might invent a great app and put it on iPhone, but you won't make trillions of dollars, I can assure you. It is Apple which makes trillions of dollars. So always ask yourself, what part of the value chain are we appropriating? Now, market development, obsession with quality, superior products required money. And at the same time, we had to improve the margins. So we changed the paradigm of savings. A good consumer goods company generates a savings of about 3-4%. We said we'll need much more savings. So what we did is we set up Project Symphony, which was crowdsourcing ideas from across the company. The very first year, we got 800 ideas. Generally, savings is restricted to supply chain and finance boys and girls. But they do not have an exclusivity over ideas. Ideas should come from everywhere. And when you unleash the energy of the company, you're able to take the savings from 3-4% to 7-8%. Just think of it, for a 60,000 crore company, a 7-8% savings, or for a 30,000 plus crore DRL, 7-8% savings. What can it do for you? You can invest behind innovation. You can invest behind capabilities. And you can have a certain rhythm on margin improvement. That's what you can achieve. There is no limit to human ingenuity. And remember another thing. There is unlimited juice in the savings lemon. Just because you have achieved high level of savings this year, Mr. CFO, it doesn't mean you can't deliver it next year again, because you have to look at it from a different lens and different technologies, and many things which are not available today could become available tomorrow. And savings is not just the job of the supply chain head and the finance head. It is the job of every person in the company. And when you have the owner's mindset and the growth mindset, you will find ways and means of generating savings. Now let me talk about distinctive capabilities. Let me first start by the two big things. What is winning? Winning in many Indias, it started with the premise that India is a heterogeneous country. It's not a homogeneous entity. The languages are different, the palates are different, the tastes are different, the GDP per capita is different, the competitors are different, and the beauty quotient is different. In some places, beauty is defined by long, beautiful hair. In some places, it is nails, hands. In some places, it is face and lips. So India is not a homogeneous country. Before this job, I used to be chairman of North Africa, Middle East for Unilever, where I had 20 countries. Those 20 countries had more in common than the 28 states of India. And I'm not joking. It was one predominant Islamic countries, predominant Arabic culture. हमारे देश में तो हर चीज अलग है. So you can't treat India as one country if you have big aspirations. And at the core of winning in many Indias is a philosophy called de-averaging. Averaging is a sin. You know, when I was explaining this concept to my management committee, we were all 10 of us sitting in a boardroom, and I gave them a very simple example. And I told them, if in this room, Mr. Mukesh Ambani walks in, on an average, we are all billionaires. How absurd it is. That's what averaging does. So that's what you need to do, de-average things. And the second is empowerment. In my first year, I used to spend 3 hours 2 days every month on S&OP, Sales and Operations Planning. We have 16 categories and thousands of SKUs. Invariably, there would be gaps. How do you plug the gaps? What are the activities need you to do? And I used to think that's the gross wastage of a CEO's time. And the reason was we had not delegated enough. So what we did is we converted it into country category business teams. These were fully empowered 15 boards. There was a CEO, there was a marketing head, a sales head, an R&D head, a CFO, an HR head. All functions were represented in each of the boards. And at the beginning of the year, we would agree an operating plan. And we would say, hey guys, now you run the business. We will monitor you. We will track you. We will intervene on exceptional basis. Either when you flounder or you do bloody well. Because we need to understand itna acha kyun kar rahe hain. Yeah, otherwise we would let them run. Just can you imagine the sense of empowerment that came in? Instead of one Sanjiv Mehta, there were 16 Sanjiv Mehtas. Huge unleash of energy. But you must remember something. You can delegate, but not abdicate. So you need to have your radar to monitor performance. And you need to help them if they are tripping and falling. But give them the room, give them the space to unleash their energy. Let's start with what WIMI meant.
WIMI, in addition to unlocking growth for the organization, has unlocked capabilities for us in supply chain as well. Now we are talking about supply chain capabilities like supply chain for smalls across plan, source, make and deliver space.
WIMI has had a profoundly game-changing impact on our tea business. WIMI is so ingrained into our thinking that it is not just core to our strategy. It is our strategy. Everyone in the team thinks WIMI when it comes to mixes. There is no one-size-fits-all national business because every consumer is different or every market is different when it comes to tea preferences.
We've taken WIMI to the heart of how we market to the consumers in India. It has really helped us to not just look at one P via the lens of WIMI, but holistically look at all the 6 Ps when we are really targeting consumers in markets where traditionally we've been weaker on share.
I've been privileged to see WIMI at action at HUL for the last decade. What started off simplistically was just different pricing for wheel in different parts of the country, but it has advanced into something a lot bigger than that now. We're doing jobs to be done at a WIMI cluster level, and we are doing product benchmarking on Surf Excel and a bunch of tea brands versus benchmark competition at a WIMI level.
The physical manifestation of WIMI was really the creation and setting up of Central Branch, a tectonic mindset shift to all our stakeholders. Our customers and employees who saw Unilever as committed to the idea of mining growth from Bimaru. The local administration who now saw Unilever as a homegrown organization with roots in the Hindi heartland. Our consumers who now we intrinsically understood better, who now moved away from just crafting a plan for Uttar Pradesh to one that was significantly crafted and customized for Bhojpur, Awadh, Rohilkhand, Braj and Bundelkhand.
So what does Vimy mean essentially? Today, if you go and pick up, say, Red Label tea, Brook Bond, same pack graphics, same sizes, but the blend inside is different depending on the palette. If you pick up Surf Excel, it is the same packs, but the formulation inside is different depending on the hardness of the water. That's what Vimy does. The blends are different, the formulations are different, the communication is different, because your jobs to be done are different. Somewhere there is increasing penetration, somewhere there is increasing consumption. So today, we don't treat India as one India, there is no one national strategy. There are 15 distinct strategies. Now let's look at reimagining HUL. You remember around 2015-16, that was the time when Reliance came in. And one of the big shifts that happened was the cost of data plummeted. It plummeted by about 1/20th, and it became one of the cheapest cost of data. 1 GB of data became from one of the costliest to one of the cheapest in the world. And that stage we knew that this will change the way we do business in the country. Classically in FMCG, there is a linear value chain. Yeah, it is plan, source, make, deliver, market. From a linear value chain, you move to creating ecosystems. Let's look at first our Agile Innovation Hub.
Agile innovation model under the consumer ecosystem allows us to reduce innovation lead time from months to days while delivering superior products and consumer experiences. Using advanced data science, we visualize and analyze millions of product launches and market data points at the touch of a button. Our machine learning algorithms predict future trends to target the biggest opportunities before they become mainstream. Cutting-edge modeling and simulation capabilities let us design product formulations in silico first and validate them digitally. Our connected lab of the future uses advanced automation to enable high-throughput formulation and scientific analysis. Even the time-consuming fragrance selection process is cut down to hours using an in-house robot-assisted library with over 2,000 fragrances. Digital design and 3D printing allow for rapid prototyping and pack testing to understand consumer responses and refine prototypes, syntheses and concepts in a matter of days. Once formulations are perfected, our advanced manufacturing center mimics manufacturing processes at our digital factories using data-backed digital and physical twins to scale up production. Our network of nano-factories can produce just the right volumes at unparalleled speed. Our in-house professional studio rapidly creates high-quality influencer content. And to top things off, we deploy tech-enabled fluid user experiences on our D2C engagement platforms and data-driven marketing in e-commerce and omni-channel launches. This is our repeatable, digital and data-led agile innovation model.
Just to give you an idea, by scraping the data from the net, you're able to do with a high degree of predictive analytics when a trend will come to India and what would be the size of the trend. Yeah, then we are able to do things in the lab using 3D and advanced manufacturing, what would normally take runs in the factories, etc. So your innovation lead time from months and say a year plus has been reduced to a few weeks. But look at
India, with its diverse population of over 1 billion people, is undergoing a digital transformation. Nearly 2/3 of its population uses the internet regularly through mobile devices, which are becoming more affordable. These have been supported by Digital India, the government's roadmap to a robust digital infrastructure, expansive internet connectivity, and increased digital literacy. HUL has been on this journey with its industry-defining transformation program called Reimagine HUL that has perpetuated the mantra of rapid experimentation over the years, from multitude of experiments to holistic business transformation. Reimagine HUL anchors a connected ecosystem across consumers, customers, and operations enabled by data, technology, and analytics at its core. For consumers, our cutting-edge AI hub is bringing together capabilities across trend watching, sizing, testing, production, thereby reducing lead time from months to days. These capabilities come together seamlessly, enabling us to land curated, on-trend innovations rapidly. Experimenting early with new-age marketing tools like beauty tech and new media vehicles ensures consumers are experiencing our products and services like never before. In the connected customer ecosystem, we are sustaining our distribution advantage through competitive modes across demand generation, capture, and fulfillment. Our eB2B ordering app Shikhar now reaches over 1 million stores. We are also wiring up the eB2B backend with Samadhan. It enables anytime ordering, high assortment, and reliable next-day delivery, which is critical to be competitive. Our supply chain is undergoing a transformation across the verticals of plan, source, make, and deliver. The end-to-end integration will be enabled through a nerve center, which will combine the 4 verticals to enable real-time information flow and intelligent decision-making. Our Dapada factory has been recognized externally by the World Economic Forum as India's first digital and sustainability lighthouse. Data is now treated as an enterprise asset. We are integrating internal and external data sets and democratizing it with tools like Chanakya and Livewire. Using prescriptive and predictive analytics across the value chain like tea forecasting and assortment planning is constantly unlocking fuel for growth, making HUL truly future fit. We are also investing in the right talent, creating new partnerships and building an agile organizational structure to accelerate this journey. Reimagine HUL is driving end-to-end business impact and is a vital program to stay competitive and future fit in the digital age.
You know, as we speak, the Shikhar, which is the most adopted app in the country, has reached about 1.5 million retailers. And now we have got scores of factories which have been recognized by World Economic Forum as digital lighthouses. And the factories have now moved to no lights factory. The factories are run without any lights. Because there are no people there, you don't need any lights. So the key principles of reimagining, you have to constantly experiment. There has to be a speed of thought converted into speed of action, and very importantly, keep measuring what the business impact is. Not technology for the sake of technology, but how does it improve the business? And when you're looking at high tech, remember something. It has to be supplemented with high touch. High tech and high touch go together. We are not still at a stage where everything is robotized. I hope it never happens. The last few lines which a salesman sells is because of his relationship with the store, not because of Shikhar app. And that will never go away. Yeah? So it requires sponsorship, it requires team, it requires a culture of experimentation, failures. But I think what data and technology can give you today, I don't think we can operate without that. It gives you significant competitive edge. Let's talk about performance and not me. Now, DRL is a very purpose-driven business. So has been Unilever. Unilever started operation in Victorian England when 1 and 2 child would not cross the age of 5 because of poor hygiene practices and conditions over there. That was the birth of Unilever. And today, Unilever operates in more countries than the United Nations. It has one of the largest footprints in the world. And remember something, at the end of the day, whether it is Unilever or whether it is DRL, the biggest strength that we have is our reputation. And trust and reputation is built slowly, but once you damage it, it gets tarnished very fast. Now, HUL is a company of brands. Yeah, that's what we live and breathe. And great brands are based on purpose, performance, and personalization. Now, let me bring them alive by giving you a couple of examples. Let's pick up Brook Bond Red Label story. And this is, remember, a few years back, we took over leadership from my good friend Tata's. And look at this show reel, that how a purpose is brought to life. To give you, Brook Bond was created 100 years back by Sir Thomas Brooke. And 100 years back, he said that over a great cup of tea, you can bridge differences. स्वाद अपने पन का देखिए.
चाबी नहीं मिल रही.
अरे यार, ये रोज का झगड़ा.
मैंने चलते हुए बैग में रखी थी.
बैग में डाली थी तो कहाँ चली गई? वहाँ निकल गई. ढंग से देखो ना यार.
चाबी भूल गए आप?
जी.
आइए ना, हमारे यहाँ इंतजार कीजिए.
नहीं, हम ठीक है. देखते रहो उसको. इसको बाहर.
सुनिए, मैं चाय बना रही हूँ. आइए.
करो फोन ताले वाले.
चाय की बहुत अच्छी खुशबू आती है इसके घर से.
आती होगी. तुम्हारे घुटनों में दर्द हो गया होगा, तो चलो अंदर बैठ के इंतजार करते हैं.
चीनी कितने लेंगे?
कुछ घरों की चाय में अपनेपन का स्वाद होता है.
चाय बहुत अच्छी बनी है.
एक कप चाय और बोली.
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का.
हैप्पी बर्थडे चिराग. कैसा लगा सरप्राइज? चेहरा कैसे उतर गया है. इस साल बहू ला के रहेंगे.
माँ, ये पल्लवी है. हम लोग साथ रहते हैं. बैठिए ना.
मैं आती हूँ.
इन्हें डायबिटीज है.
आंटी, ये बिना चीनी वाली है और ये 2 चम्मच वाली आपकी.
इलायची डाली है.
हाँ.
अच्छी नहीं लगी?
बुरी नहीं है.
कुछ घरों की चाय में अपनेपन का स्वाद होता है. ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का.
हे, कोई शास्त्री सर आए हैं.
अरे शास्त्री सर, आप इतने साल बाद?
कॉलेज का एनुअल फंक्शन है.
लक्ष्मी, सर के लिए जरा चाय बना लो.
अरे नहीं, रुको. सर के लिए चाय मैं बनाऊंगा. कॉलेज हॉस्टल में सर को मेरी चाय बहुत पसंद थी. कैसी लगी सर?
वही कहूँ जो कॉलेज में कहा करता था, इंजीनियरिंग छोड़ दे, चाय का स्टॉल खोल ले.
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का.
ए मोड़े, चाय? अरे नहीं भाई नहीं, तू ठहरा चिकन मटन खाने वाला. तेरे घर का पानी भी पी लिया ना तो माँ नाराज हो जाएगी. तू ना आधा कप में भी. और माँ को मैं बाद में सॉरी बोल दूंगा.
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का.
Just look at it. Whether it is Hindu, Muslim, whether it is live-in relationship, anything where there are social tensions, Brook Bond tries to bridge the gap. Yeah, and the underlying premise is over a great cup of tea. That's how you live the purpose of a brand. Now, let me tell you another story, Surf Excel. Now, Surf Excel is India's first billion-dollar non-food brand. Yeah? And take a look at it. I'm sure you will enjoy watching.
Number 1 is very big. Number 2 is this. देख क्या रे? तूने मारा इसको? तुझे अब भी देखता हूँ. मारता है? अभी ये ले. ये भी. Sorry बोल. सॉरी बोल रहे.
दाग लगने से अगर कुछ अच्छा होता है तो दाग अच्छे हैं ना. सर्फ एक्सेल, दाग अच्छे हैं.
वापस नहीं करना.
अरे
फेंक के दिखाना. बस
घर से निकलो खेलो, खेलो यारा रंग, इंद्रधनुष के जैसे रह लो तारे संग.
अब तो मार लो ना. सब खत्म. बाहर आ जा. सब खत्म हो गया.
मैं तुझ में तू मुझ में, अपनी दोनों की है एक ही दास्तां. अपनों के संग रंग लाए संग.
नमाज पढ़ कर आता हूँ. बाद में रंग पड़ेगा.
अपनेपन के रंग से औरों को रंगने में दाग लग जाए तो दाग अच्छे हैं. सर्फ एक्सेल.
You know, the great thing about this ad is nowhere are we talking about that Surf Excel is great in stain removal, great perfume, nothing about it. The underlying concept is that for children to grow, you have to let them get dirty. And to the mother, the message is let them play, let them get dirty. But at the back of her mind, she knows Surf Excel hai. So Daag Achhe in its various manifestations comes alive in this manner. Now, let me talk about other thing is how do we align ourselves with the national agenda? You know, despite the mighty Himalayan rivers, the country has not managed the water resources well. And in another 10 years, the water supply will be half the demand. So we said we can't be sitting on the edges and just bitching about the problem. We have to be part of the solution. Now, you might ask, what the heck has HUL got to do with solving the water problem? Now, the reasons are plain and simple. अब जब सवेरे उठते हो, brush करते हो, hopefully with Pepsodent or Close-Up, you require water. Then you want to have a great cup of tea or coffee, brew or Brook Bond or Taj, you require water. Then you go to the bathroom. You want to wash your lovely hair with Sunsilk or Tresemme or Indu Lekha, you require water. You want to take a shower by Lux or Lifebuoy or Dove, you require water. You come out, you want to wear clean clothes, washed by Surf Excel, you require. Then you want to have your food. The dishes have been cleaned by Vim, you require. So we said, we have to be part of the solution. Now, Suvidha is a very interesting thing. This was my first meeting with Mr. Modi when he became Prime Minister. और वो हमें उन्होंने काम दिया. He gave me 2-3 work. One was this. He said, आप लोग गांव में बहुत काम करते हो. शहर के जो slum areas हैं, उसमें भी कुछ करो. वहां पे condition बहुत बुरी है. And then plastic. Plastic has become a public enemy #1. Wrongfully. Yeah? Plastic is one of the greatest inventions of our lifetime. But the problem is we have to keep plastic out of the environment. So when we started focusing on plastic, we were very clear that every packaging in our company would be reusable, recyclable, or compostable. And then we said we will also clear the litter in the country. So for the last several years, we collect more plastic from the streets of India than we use in our packaging products. And we are talking about 120,000 tons. And the last is Shakti. Many of you must have heard. Shakti is about micro-entrepreneurs in the villages of India. Today, we have 200,000 Shakti Ammas covering about 225,000 villages. and they generate a sales of $500 million. When you empower a woman, you empower a family. The guys go and waste money on drinking, etc. Women don't do that. They put it behind the children's education and health and nutrition. And can you imagine, in a remote village where there are very few cases of chances for a woman to work, except in the farms, the kind of status upliftment it does to the woman when she proudly says, I am the Shakti distributor of Hindustan Unilever. That's the transformation that happens. So let's take a look at HUF first.
It is predicted that in 10 years from now, India will have half the water it needs. But in many parts of the country, parched earth and conflict over water are already making headlines.
जीवन तो पानी से है ही, पानी ना हो तो फिर क्या हो?
Water is a resource we all share as humanity. It is everyone's issue to solve for, not just the governments or farmers. India gets adequate rainfall. We need to manage it well, save enough, and use it carefully.
This is at the heart of what we do at HUF. We support women, farmers, NGOs, panchayats, government, and even the private sector to come together so that we can secure water for all.
Villages in Bundelkhand are reviving 10th century water tanks through Shramdan and smart science.
हमारा तालाब है, हमारी परंपरा है, हमारे बुजुर्गों की ये निशानी है, हमें इनको मिटने नहीं देना है.
In Andhra Pradesh, farmers use gamification to decide which crops to grow based on data simulations for rainfall and groundwater.
దానికి 5 మంది కలిసి ఒక ఉమ్మడిగా నీళ్లు తక్కువైనప్పుడు
Young women in patriarchal East UP work as professional farm advisors, training farmers to change their traditional practices, to use less water and grow more.
वीडियो देखे से बहनी सब क्या समझ में आ जाता है. बहनी बताते ही और आँख से देख लियो तो दिमाग में फीड हो जाता है.
Punjab's farmers are planting digital sensors in paddy fields to record soil moisture in real time. This helps them switch on and switch off their water pumps as needed.
ਮੇਰਾ ਇੱਕ ਕਿਸਾਨ ਦਾ 2 ਕਿੱਲਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਨਾ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਤੇ ਸਪਰੇਅ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਦਾ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਸਾਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਵਰਤਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਾਣੀ ਦੀ ਘਾਟ ਕਾਰਨ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਤੇ ਨਿਜਾਤ ਪਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਸਕੇ ਤੇ
In Andhra Pradesh and West Bengal, people young and old are coming together to build structures in their villages to save water during monsoons.
ఈ వనరుల మీద ఎక్కువ మేము టెన్షన్ దొరికామన్నమాట. ఇంత కరువులో కూడా ఈ సమస్య లేదు.
HUF's programs have created a potential of 1.3 trillion liters, a volume that can meet India's entire drinking water needs for a year.
We have the science and the solutions to solve for India's water crisis in our lifetime. But
1.3 trillion liter was about 5 years back. As we speak, it is 3.6 trillion liters. So just think of it. 3 years drinking water needs are met by the savings of water generated on demand and supply side. But that's still a drop in the ocean because 80% of the water is used for agriculture purposes. So we have a great way to go. But what we are doing is we are democratizing the learnings that we have. Anyone who wants to learn what they need to do in villages to conserve water, they can tap into HUF. Let's take a look at Suvidha.
मेरे बस्ती में ना कोई भी रात को पेट भर के खाना नहीं खाते. लड़की लोग, लेडीज लोग 3 बजे 4 बजे कभी बाथरूम आ जाएगा ना, बाहर जाने के लिए बहुत डर लगते.
More than 1 billion humans live in urban slums globally. They have no access to safe and hygienic toilets, resulting in serious health implications. In line with the Sustainable Development Goals, Unilever is bringing access to hygiene and safe sanitation for all. But doing the same in slums without any infrastructure was a challenge. Presenting the Suvidha Center, a unique self-sustaining community hygiene center providing safe access to toilets, drinking water, showers, and laundromats. This Unilever initiative, in partnership with the Municipal Corporation of Mumbai and HSBC, has set up 12 such Suvidha centers. Each center has been inclusively designed for women, children, elderly, and persons with disabilities to ensure no one is left behind. They are open 24/7 and brightly lit for safety. With pricing as low as 1 cent per day, each Suvidha center provides safe sanitation to everyone. Moreover, all centers operate sustainably and save over 50 million liters of water every year. The Suvidha centers are further reinforced in the community with behavior change programs focused on hygiene and sanitation. More than 300,000 people now have access to safe sanitation. Unilever and its partners are now building many more centers to facilitate access to the most basic human right, a healthy future.
By end of this year, there would be 20 centers. Now, Jindal has also partnered. They give us money. And HUL provides the CapEx. As far as OPEX is concerned, because it is pay for use, it gets broken even in 1 year. And the same standards are kept as if the standards are that the bathrooms should be, toilets should be as clean as it is in our homes. And my brief to my team was, when we set up the first Suvidha Center in East Ghatkopar slum, that if I were to stand for assembly election over there, I should win hands down. Now I can set up a whole political party in Mumbai with 20 centers. Yeah, but the entire thing is, just think of it. A woman used to get up at 3 in the morning to fill up a couple of pails of water because the water would run then dry. And girls and women would not eat at night or drink water at night because they would have had to go out to broken, ramshackle, dangerous toilets. Just think of it, the life of dignity that has been provided to women. And it is doable. And they are so clean, if anyone wants to ever visit Mumbai, the reason we are not spreading it to other towns, the brief was that we should have a vision of 100 Suvidha centers in Mumbai so that they become an example to rest of the country. Yeah, now there should be huge focus on ESG, very obvious, just like DRL does. It enhances value creation, reduces cost, productivity goes up, and trust and transparency. And there are certain principles of ESG I believe in, that business and brand should be a force for good. It's a journey, not a destination. Have a multi-stakeholder model, adopt the entire value chain approach, create capabilities in the entire ecosystem. Because that capacity building and capabilities are very critical when you're working on ESG, and build sustainability in managerial remuneration. Our managers, so whether it is water saving or Suvidha, their variable pay was linked to delivery, not just for people working on those projects, for the entire leadership team, including the CEO. And that's how you can make a real difference. Culture, so important. You know, we often talk about culture, eating strategy for breakfast, lunch, whatever. But the important thing, if you were to ask me what defines HUL, is a middle-class mindset. Hard work, determination, perseverance, hunger to succeed, and those classical middle-class values. Culture of empowerment I've spoken about. The other is building leaders is not just the job of HR. We would assess every person on how good they are in building and nurturing leaders. This is a job of everyone. Not surprisingly, HUL is called as the CEO factory because there are 500 CXOs. in India and abroad who proudly wear a badge trained by HUL. If you look today in the FMCG industry or consumer industry, Airtel CEO, Nestle CEO, Colgate CEO, Upgrad CEO, Biostop CEO, then Hershey CEO, they're all guys and girls who were part of my team. And that's how we keep nurturing CEOs, because the job is of everyone to build and nurture leaders. The other is fetish for execution. You know, strategy everyone can make. The difference is in landing the strategy, making it happen. Yeah, HUL manufactures and sells 70 billion units every year. And they sell it over 9 million outlets. So just think of it. There are 9,000 trucks plying the streets of India every day, carrying raw material, packaging, or finished goods. Now, if you are not able to execute it well, you will never be able to win. Now, consumer trends are evolving. And this is happening not just in our country or in our cities, but across the world. And you will be able to relate to many of the trends shaping us. Now, what is the role of a leader in this new environment? Let me share a few of my thoughts. First, your purpose can't be just to make money. The two biggest days in your life, as one learned guy said, is the day you were born and the day you realized why the heck were you born. We help people identify their purpose and live their purpose. I'll share with you what my purpose has been over the years. The other is lead for significant positive impact. Today, the consumers and people have more trust on business leaders than political leaders. Not surprising, right? And today, the business leaders need to have a point of view when it comes to business issues, big societal issues, environmental issues, and express them. It is not about just sharing the created value. It is about creating the shared value also. It is not just about you yourself. You will never be successful if the society around you is not successful. And that is the reason why it is so important to create shared value. Passion is key, guys. You know, passion is like an electricity which runs the motor. When you get up in the morning, you should be excited to go to work. I used to tell my team, when you get up in the morning and say, oh shit, aaj daftar jana hai, then you need to come and speak to me, because kuch masla hai. Yeah, for my entire 3 decades with Unilever, I used to get up and I used to be as excited as if it was my first day at work, till the very last day. I tell people, give me back my 3 decades in Unilever and I'll do exactly what I did. No regrets whatsoever. It comes from passion. Build the culture. Culture is behavior at scale. It doesn't happen by framing it and hanging it on a board in our boardroom. You have to live your culture. People observe your actions and inactions very closely. And that's what you need to do every single day. That's how you build a great culture. I always tell people that there'll be many times in your life when you will be at a crossroad. Always pursue a harder right than the easier wrong. Never ever fall into a trap of taking a shortcut or something which will come to haunt you. You know what is the softest pillow in the world? It is your conscience. When you get up in the morning and when you're brushing your teeth, hopefully with close-up or Pepsodent, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you should be proud of yourself and not lower your eyes. Always, always pursue the harder right. Delegate, not abdicate. Remember something? Authority is given, accountability is taken. You have to say the buck stops at me. Your boss won't come and say, they'll at best tell you, give you responsibility, but that ownership should come from within you. Sense making is so important. Yeah. Today, you will have huge amount of information. A lot of that information is disparate, coming from different sources. Now you need to have a plausible understanding of what the different information means. It is both based on intuition, which comes from experience, and it is based on data. If you wait for too long, you'll be too late. That's where sense making comes in. You have to supplement planning with intelligent reaction. You cannot plan for all eventualities. It is impossible because you'll never be able to, whatever science, whatever AI you may use it, there'll be imponderables which you will never be able to foresee. And that is where sense making comes in. View the world through two lenses, microscope and telescope. Yeah, there is no long term without a short term. And if you're just focusing on the short term, you will never be able to realize your vision. There will be crises. There's no question about that. In my life, I've faced several crises. Yeah, there was the first Gulf War, there was the second Gulf War, there was the Arab Spring, there was the demonetization, there was the COVID. Now remember something, as leaders, you have to be brutally optimistic. You have to tell your people what the true facts are. But at the same time, you have to tell them how are you going to lead them out of crisis. That's what a good crisis leader does. I call it the Churchillian paradox. During the World War II, he used to tell his people, blood, toil, sweat, and tears, that's the reality. But ultimately, we shall prevail. We often talk about agility, right? What does agility mean at its core sense? There are three very important things. Your ability to spot challenges and opportunities. Second is, what the heck are you going to do with that? The speed of decision making. And once you have taken a decision, how fast are you going to act on it? That's what agility means. You have to be a learner all your life. Otherwise, you will get fossilized very fast. The job of a leader is not just to give right answers. In fact, I would say it is about asking the right questions. That's an important part of a leader. Collaborate. There are many things that we will have to work with our competitors, together with others in the industry to make it happen. The climate action can never happen without collaboration. Collaboration between companies, collaboration between countries. Otherwise, we will never be able to solve the problem. This is my purpose, guys. My purpose is very simple, bring out the hero in people. Hero, ladies and gentlemen, here is gender neutral. Yeah, I believe that there are very few of us who are Einsteins. But at the same time, I believe in the infinite capacity of human beings. And that's what we need to do, bring the best out of people. Compassion is not about sympathy or pity. Compassion was a word never related to leadership till COVID happened. Compassion comes naturally to leaders from the East. But today, even in the West, the leaders have started talking about compassion. I have a trademark for this, but I can give it to you to use without any fees. Yeah, your ambition has to be greater than the resources you possess. But if you are not humble, you do not have humility, yeah, then all of you have heard about Nemesis. Who better than the Greeks? Don't let pride come in the way. Don't let arrogance ever come in the way. Never ever forget the house number from where you came. While you gaze at reaching Mars and Moon, your feet should be firmly planted on the ground. I've spoken about authority and responsibility. It should always be team before self. Very often we glorify leaders. In reality, it is not leaders, it is teams. Yeah. Oppenheimer could never have developed Project Manhattan or the atomic bomb without the great teams. He never got the Nobel Prize. His many team members got it. Walt Disney never created a frame. Yeah, but he is the father of entertainment. That's what team does. Remember something, failure is not the opposite of success. You have to keep experimenting. I used to have days when we used to discuss only failure, starting with my own failure. We have to make people feel comfortable with failures. We are not here to fail, we are here to succeed. But failing is inevitable. If you don't fail, it also implies you're not stretching yourself. Winning spirit. You know, once I had invited Harsha Bogle when I was chairman of Bangladesh 20 years back to come and speak to us. And speak to us about the Aussies. And that time it was the Steve Woz Aussies. They used to bloody beat everyone. And so we had asked him to give us insights. And he gave us some very telling insights. And that was the time when Bangladesh had never won a match. And he used to say that Bangladesh could snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, because they never believed that they can win. And the Aussies, on the other hand, would win the match even before stepping to the ground. That's the power of mind. That's the self-belief. That's what we need to instill in our teams. This was a transformation journey over the years. So this is what we did. Over a 10-year period, added 33,000 crores. EBITDA margin increase of 900 bips, about 90 bips every year. And our return on capital employed was in 3 digits. So remember something. High performance company, mindset, capabilities, performance anatomy. Value creation, growth, margin, capital velocity. Got it? So simple it is. So guys, in many ways, DRL is what HUL was 10 years back. Similar size. We have a margin cliff. We need to ramp up our business. Our ambitions are great. I believe the margins will bounce back even after the cliff. And I think what DRL needs to do, what HUL has done in 10 years, DRL should do in 5 years. All right, thank you. I still have some time for questions.
A big thank you, Sanjiv. Like, I'm just seeing the time, how 90 minutes passed. I don't know, it's a big, great journey of HUL, and then with very nicely you have put it like a growth mindset and everything. Thank you for spending your valuable time. Now, let us have a Q&A. Maybe I'll go first. Then, I don't know, just see, like in order to have a continuous growth of the HUL during maybe in your tenure of 10 years, how strategies are being changed in order to, because otherwise if the same strategy will never have. That is the number one. Number two, always we will have a challenges, especially in the cross-functional teams, how you created like a accountability in order to have a winning spirit within the teams.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. You know, there is nothing in life which moves in a linear fashion. Now, strategy, when you look at the core of a strategy, it implies where are we going to play? How are we going to win? And what capabilities we need to win? And you do it in a competitive context. When we say where are we going to play to, where are we going to play, it also implies where we are not going to play. Yeah, but you can do it from your lens. At the same time, remember, there are 100 other competitors working on the same strategy. So many things which you have not featured might be there as part of their strategy. You know, when we were growing up, we used to make strategy once in 3 years. Make nightly bound and send it to London once in 3 years. And one copy used to be on our right-hand drawer. And forget about it. That's how the world was. Today, if you make a strategy, 3 months later, it might be irrelevant. So strategy has to be something which is constantly updated. Strategy is not about standing on ground zero and asking yourself, how do I climb to Mount Everest? No. From ground zero, you ask yourself, how do I move to the base camp? I'll then scan the environment, then look at moving to the next altitude. And it's a moving feast. That's how you do strategy. It's a continuous process of the challenges, the opportunities, the capabilities you need. So it has to be a continuous process. Looking at growth, I mean, yeah, that's again a very interesting thing. The way we used to do is, at a senior level, by the time you are into August and September, that year, you should leave it to the operators to execute. The top team should move to the first quarter of the next year. What are we going to do then? In fact, you need to have Horizon 1, 2, 3. What are going to be the Horizon 3 levers? Many of the seeds that you will be planting today, someone else will be harvesting. You don't need to worry about that. If you have an owner's mindset, you won't worry about it. So you need to focus on Horizon 1 to giving you growth now. Horizon 2, which will give you growth in the next 2, 3 years. Horizon 3, which will be 4, 5, 6 years. But you need to plant the seeds now. That's how you get into a continuous journey of getting growth. And growth fuels growth. Yeah? All right. Any other question? Yes, gentlemen, tell us your name.
My name is Chinmay.
Hi, Chinmay.
And it was great to see the water part because I participated in ethnography in Nigeria 10 years back.
Oh, so, wonderful.
Anyway, my question was, what role has design played in HUL's growth journey? And secondly, for DRL to do better in the OTC space, which is comparable to the space HUL operates in, what can we learn from HUL?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Very valid questions. You know, for us, it is, when you talk about design, I'll also talk about discovery. Yeah? HUL has about 900 scientists in India, out of which 200 are PhDs. And there are 4 R&D centers in the country. And again, our whole focus is on the 3 horizons of growth, innovation. Yeah, in Horizon 1, you look at renovation primarily. You have the existing products and how do you improve on them. Horizon 3 is all about new molecules. And Horizon 2 is something which exists, but which you can make it alive, which hasn't been done before. In some cases, you may not be the first, but you could be the second and still be the best. Yeah, but design in every which way, from products to formulations to packaging to activation, design plays a very important role. Absolutely important role. And beg your pardon, your second question was about? Oh, you know, OTC is very similar to FMCG. And you remember my troika of great brands? Purpose, performance, personalization. You know, the other thing which DRL will have to learn is marketing. We are great in generics, branded generics. But consumer marketing, Marketing is about, at its core, is about storytelling. Yeah. Today, the medium has changed. But if you look at the marketing, identifying the unmet needs of consumers, creating a superior product, understanding how would you occupy the emotional space in the mind of the consumers, building a great narrative and an enriching story, and then ensuring that you have the lifetime value of the consumers. This is what marketing is about. But the part about storytelling, that a pharmaceutical company is not very good at. Yeah, but when you get into the consumer space, that is what something you will have to learn to develop. Yeah. All right, what else?
Sanjiv, so we have almost 350 plus people who've joined online as well.
Please.
There are some questions online. I would like to read out one to you.
Yeah.
So in industries like FMCG and pharmaceuticals, constant innovation is essential. So how do you align your team's vision to adapt to disruptive market changes while maintaining core values?
You know, like I mentioned, innovation is the lifeblood. If you don't innovate, you'll get left behind because you don't work in an isolated environment. You have hordes of competitors, global, regional, local, national, who are working on usurping your leadership. And our category leaders, their core job is to innovate. And that is the reason we have got such a huge R&D teams working on bringing the vision of the marketeers to life through great products. Many times, I'll give you another insight. It sometimes seems very simple that we can identify an unmet need of a consumer. It is not so simple. You go and ask a consumer what your unmet needs are, they'll flounder. They are not able to articulate that. Sometimes you have to piece it together through intuition and through sense making. That's what you need to do. But that is at the core of innovations. And then the science comes in. And then you have to make it come alive. Many times, it's a great innovation, but it is ahead of time. And it doesn't work. So you have to then realize, I'm not going to waste huge amount of money. I'll keep it on a slow burner till it reaches a stage of inflection. What else? Yeah, please, the lady over here.
Hi, Sanjiv.
Hi.
Good evening. Thank you so much for sharing your lessons.
Oh, pleasure.
I have two questions for you. One, we have read about good time CEOs and bad time CEOs. What is your take on it? And how would you consider your inning, first 5 years and last 5 years, if you want to differentiate? Second question is, what were your parting messages to Rohit Java, who took over from you?
All right. Thank you. You know, first, like I said, is the period of great moderation is over. And if someone is a CEO for 10 years, it will never be motoring on placid waters. It won't happen. There'll always be challenges. So you have to be ready for disruption. You have to be ready for turbulence. Yeah, if you look at my 5 years and the next 5 years, in the first 5 years, we sowed the seeds of obsession with quality in everything we do. We had a project called Big Q, quality in marketing, quality in sales, quality in products, everything. And at the moment of truth, not at the end of production line. Yeah. And the second thing we did is sowed the seeds of winning in many Indias and reimagining HUL. The third one, my second half, a lot of it, 2-3 years went in COVID. Yeah, but in COVID, we came out the strongest. I'll tell you the period when our stocks got re-rated was demonetization, GST, and COVID. Because during tough times, when you do better than others, your stock gets re-rated. You know, when there is a lot of breeze, even turkeys can fly. When there is no breeze, you determine who's a turkey and who's an eagle. So be an eagle and you will get re-rated. Yeah? Now, Rohit is an experienced leader. I told him, I'm not going to watch over your shoulders. My innings is over. I walk away with a lot of gratitude. But if at any stage you need my help, unhesitatingly knock on my door. That was my parting message to him.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Hi, Sanjiv.
Yeah, please.
This way here.
Yeah, sorry.
My name is Raghu.
Hi, Raghu.
So I read that you started your career with Union Carbide.
That's right.
And you have gone through that crisis management. Can you throw some light on that?
Oh, thank you. You know, my first job was with Union Carbide. And, you know, I had zeroed in on 2 companies. And both started with U. Union Carbide and the Unilever group of companies. That time it was not one HLL as it was then called. There were different companies. Brook Bond was separate, Lipton was separate, Ponds was different, Dum Duma was different. They were all part of the Unilever group. And Unilever in their wisdom posted a Mumbai boy to Lipton in Kolkata. And Union Carbide was headquartered in Mumbai. It didn't take long for me to decide which company I'll join. So I joined Union Carbide. And I remember vividly, I was in the States when the accident happened. I was in the corporate headquarters in Danbury. And after a few weeks, my boss in the US called me and said, Sanjiv, you have to go to Bhopal. I thought, I'm not a chemical engineer. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an investigator. Kai ko bhej rahe hain mujhe? But come that be that it may be. I came to Bhopal and became a junior-most member of the crisis team. And I believe a boy became a man at that stage. You know, I was the guy who was coordinating with CBI, with Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, with American lawyers, with Indian lawyers. I was working out the plans for shutting down the factory. There was something called Operation Faith, neutralizing the balance MIC. I can spend a whole day talking about what happened in Bhopal. Yeah, leave it for another day. But you know what it made me? After Bhopal, no crisis phases me. No crisis. I have been part of the team which managed, which is even now called as the world's biggest industrial disaster. So मुझे कहाँ भी खड़ा कर दो, कितनी बड़ी भी crisis होगी, I won't face. That's what it did to me. Yeah? Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Pushkar here.
Hi, Pushkar.
I just wanted to know if you have any experience or anecdote on innovating the innovative thinking in your organizations.
Yeah. Basically, what, if I get to the essence of your question, is how do you make innovators better innovators? That's what it is. Yeah? You know, one of the things we often used to do is whenever we used to make plans, we used to have challenger teams. Yeah? For instance, if a laundry team has built an innovation plan, we will have a skincare team become challengers to them. And they would push the boundaries. A lot of time what happens is group thinking. And very often, you come to a hypothesis and then you collect all the facts to prove that hypothesis. Rather than challenging yourself to see whether that hypothesis is correct or wrong. And that is where the role of a challenger becomes extremely important. The other thing we used to do, Pushkar, is we used to get people from different industries come and speak to us. Aviation, iron and steel, technology, and they would come and speak to us from their realm, how their industry is getting disrupted. It's not that there is one-to-one similarity. But there are many things you could pick up from one industry which could have application in other industry. And that's how you open up the mind. The other important bit is what I would call, or which Clayton Christensen rightly described as the innovator's dilemma, where you have a certain product and you have come up with a product which will disrupt your own business. You will be hesitant to push it. But if you don't push it, someone else will come and innovate and take away the business from you. That is where you require the courage of leadership. Yeah? Thank you.
In the interest of time, maybe last few questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Seema here. Sanjiv here.
Oh, yeah, of course. How are you? I have to get back to you, huh? Yeah. It's still there in my action folders.
Sure, sure. First of all, thank you. Thank you for beautiful storytelling. Your session is very inspiring and insightful. And I also felt it's at right time, Christmas time, you get time to reflect on these learnings.
That's right.
My question, I'm just drawing analogy for our India market and from the story what you have shared for winning in many Indians. So usually many times it is all about standardization versus customization.
That's right.
Global optima versus local optima.
That's right.
Then how did you succeed in this complexity, cost, changes?
You're so right. You know, as large corporations, one of the big thrusts is simplification. Yeah? I have a bit different thinking. Yes, you should make it simple, but not simpler. The other important bit is, as a large corporation, you should learn to manage complexity. I'll give you an analogy which you guys will be able to relate to it. It is like lipoproteins. High density lipoproteins and low density lipoproteins. Now, some complexity could be like HDL, good for your health. Some complexity could be like LDL, bad for your health. Remove the LDLs, beef up the HDLs. Yeah, but learn to manage complexity.
Thank you.
So just one more question. I mean, for an organization of the size of HUL, I was curious to understand how did you drive transformations at scale? You talked about...
Very interesting. That's a very... You know, I'll tell you something. When we started on the journey of technology, I have been a big believer in technology for years. I read a lot about technology and all. Initially, people thought this is a passion project of Sanjiv. So what I did is, I didn't involve my front team, my top team. They were not involved. I started reimagining HUL with believers, young managers, that classical HUL managers, IT, IM variety. I asked them, do you have any ideas to reinvent the work that you do? One guy said, yes, this is where we can use technology. I said, you have to do your core work. Beyond your core work, can you work on it? He said, yes. I said, I'll give you the money, start the work. That was the start of the first experiment. Then the second experiment. Then the third experiment. And then at every town hall, I would start sharing the thoughts and ideas about reimagining. It reached a scale of over 100 experiments. Then we said we have to bring sense around it. Then we set up a digital council. This was still digital council. The first digital council was a council of believers, not of the MC members. But then we said, okay, let us take it through ideas, feasibility, capability, rollout. And then we need to also, where it's not giving results, pull the plug. Then it reached a scale and momentum where every function, every leader wanted to be a part of it. That's how it became a formal affair.
Did you put a formal machinery in place to orchestrate it?
Much later. Yeah, initially it was just experiments running by believers. Yeah? Had we started in a formal way, today HUL would be perhaps, you know, JP Morgan Asset Management, they are big investors in HUL. In 23, the whole board had come. They spent 2 days going through reimagining HUL. When they were leaving, they told us, HUL is now a tech company which also sells consumer goods. Yeah, Harvard Business School has done 2 case studies. One is on WIMI, and last year they did on reimagining HUL. So you need to persevere, you need to believe in it. And because I was the CEO, I also had control of the purse strings. But yeah, at the end of the day, when we started, one required 100, 200 crores in a business of thousands of crores. And you need to be able to take that risk and give that money. Knowing that many projects won't come. You know, the Shikhar kaise shuru hua? I'll give you a very interesting idea. I'll take a minute. The top 20 leaders of Unilever, we were in London. And there was an artist sitting outside the room. And we were asked to go and paint our vision. And that was the time Amazon had started the business in India. So I thought to myself and went and told the painter, hey, Mr. Painter, Amazon has this big fulfillment centers and warehouses. We have millions of stores. Think of this, that a consumer wants to buy a thing, he goes to the website, up pops the retailers in his neighborhood. He picks up a retailer of his choice, places the order, the retailer पप्पू को देगा, वो जाके deliver कर देगा, पैसे collect कर लेगा, 20 minutes में deliver हो जाएगा. I said, Amazon will never be able to compete 20 minutes delivery. This was much before quick commerce. And we started work on it. The first project, we called it Apni Dukaan. We did the first version. We improved the technology. We did the third version, the fourth version. We put huge effort in convincing shoppers, consumers, first the stores to adopt it, because they also needed an app so that the consumers' order could go through them, and for the consumers to adopt. It wasn't going through. We had wasted 150 crores. And one day, one of my guys came and told me, Sanjiv, can we pivot from B to B to C to B to B? I said, let's go ahead. I was feeling sad about giving up, but we had to pull the plug. So that's how Shikhar was born. Now, Shikhar also, the first year was a struggle. The second year was a struggle. And then came, and the salesman couldn't visit the stores. Then the stores would call us, Shikhar do hame, because they wanted to place an order. Today, if we were to spin off Shikhar into a separate company, overnight it would become a unicorn, many times over. Now 30% of Unilever sales come through Shikhar. So we are talking about nearly 20,000 crores. That's how it happens. All right?
Thanks a lot, Sanjiv.
Thank you, guys. It's been a real pleasure.
I would like to invite MVN and Prasad on stage to felicitate Sanjiv.
This is for me or my wife? Oh, thank you so much. Oh, lovely. Oh, thank you. Yeah. No, but I will keep it and give it to someone who would cherish it as much as I do. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Prasad.
Once again, everyone.
Thank you.
Tea and coffee outside. Thank you. Thanks, Sanjiv.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.